up, what up, what up? Welcome back to We Just Want a Podcast. I'm Liana.
I'm Carol.
And I'm Donna. What's up, y'all?
Before we jump into this week's topic, I just want to catch up with you guys. I feel like it's been so long.
It's good. Donna?
Yeah, same. Life's good. Same old. I actually don't hate everyone. I'm sorry. I practiced social distancing. I was cautious, but I recently I just came back from Mexico for a wedding. Yeah, I was in the PVR area. Super cool. Hey, man, but I'm telling y'all, I was wearing masks the whole time. I was going away from everybody. I used different, bad for the environment, but I was using different cups, so I know I wasn't using, someone else's touching my cup and all that. It was safe, y'all. I was safe. I'm safe. COVID testing, all negatives. Yes.
Nice.
Yeah. And that's all you can really do,
Yeah.
So, yeah, we got to live our lives, man, but do it in a responsible way. For
yes.
Sure. Nice. For me, I actually also traveled. I went down to San Diego to celebrate one of our closest friends, actually. She turned 30, so it was 15 of us. Just kind of got together, but as you mentioned, Donna, we all tested negative before meeting each other. And then I also tested another time before coming back home because I have parents at home.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't regret it. I was really happy to do it, but in a responsible way. Also, I want to share that I might be moving to San Diego.
It's
December.
We're losing another one from the Bay, y'all. The LA area is taking, SoCal area is taking our girls, people. Let's do something about this.
No, for sure. You guys are welcome to come and visit. But if out there our listeners have any suggestions as to where I should live, or like if you have any insights on like what to do down there for hiking or stuff like that, send it our way. I'd love to hear it. But yeah, I'm really excited. That's a life announcement.
Super exciting. San Diego's beautiful.
Yes.
I wouldn't blame you at all for moving there. But it sucks because we won't be able to see you as much. And we will have to keep doing Zoom for even after COVID because you'll be in San Diego. So
yeah, I'm gonna miss
me
you.
Me and Carol will come back and forth.
Yeah, dude, do it.
Hey.
I will look for any reason to go to San Diego because it's so beautiful.
Yeah.
So why not?
Yeah. And I feel like with COVID, like companies are really, really considering about, switching over to remote work indefinitely.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I guess next year time will tell.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so should we jump into our topic for this week then?
Yes. What's the topic?
All right, so the topic is actually this really, really popular documentary on Netflix called The Social Dilemma. So how did you guys hear about this documentary? I was actually recommended by my boss to watch it. But what about you guys?
I just found it on Netflix. I was like, interesting. Social Dilemma. What is that about? Is that related to Social Network? Which it is. But yeah, I was just like glancing.
Same. It popped up as like, the top 10 watched Netflix. I was like, this is cool. I love documentaries anyway, so I'm always very curious about what they have to offer.
Okay, cool. So for those of you who have not watched it, I'm going to read out a really quick bio of what it's about. So, as I said, this is a documentary or a docudrama film directed by Jeff Orlowski and Davis Combe and Vicky Curtis. I don't know who those people are, but yeah. The film explores the rise of social media and the damage it has caused to society, focusing on its exploitation of its users for financial gain through surveillance capitalism, data mining, and how its design is meant to nurture an addiction, its use in politics, and its effect on mental health, including the mental health of adolescents, rising teen suicide rates, and its role in spreading conspiracy theories such as Pizzagate and aiding groups such as Flat Earthers. So, I mean, we thought that this is super relevant given that we're about 1 week away from election, at least at the time of this recording.
I think by the time it's the recording, it'll be the day after the election. So,
okay.
Yeah.
So this is all pre-election thoughts going on.
Yeah. And I think that we'll have some really fruitful conversation because myself, Carol, and Donna have watched the documentary, and if you guys have as well, let us know your thoughts. But there's certain points. For me specifically, I wanted to share my insights because I work in marketing communications. Um, and I take a lot of pride in my work, but also in terms of ethical responsibility, this documentary raised a bit of concern for me too. But what about you guys?
I thought it was very eye-opening to see like the addiction behind social media and how people really take it seriously when it comes to, glancing at people's lives on like Instagram or Facebook and, commenting on people. Because I think back when it first started, it was mainly just to connect with people like that you don't
Yeah.
really talk to in person, or people have reconnected because they have Facebook that they haven't talked to in a while. So it's really interesting how it's developed into this world where it's not just about connecting with people anymore, but it's about commenting on people's thoughts and lives that could turn into something really ugly.
Mm.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think the documentary really pointed out like a lot of the, because of course it's a drama docu too, so like brought out a lot of the negatives and kind of makes you want to reevaluate, how much of your life is dependent on social media or on your phone at least. Like how many times do they talk about social media, dopamine addiction? So many times it was brought up in the conversations, all those, the people they're interviewing. So you're like, damn, I never realized how big of an effect it is on people. But personally, like, would you guys say you're part of that stigma that people who are addicted to social media and all that?
Yeah, totally. I think that I think the documentary brought up a great point of they brought up a lot of the creators or the founding fathers of social media into the show as a way of like, hey, you were part of this product, knowing that it has its consequences. Are you able to take yourself away from that? And a
Yeah.
lot of them said no. They're like, I know that email is addictive, but when I get home I can't seem to turn it off either, even though I know consciously what I'm doing. It's like, being addicted to smoking or nicotine, but
Yeah.
it's bad for you, but you can't stop.
Mm-hmm.
I think they called
Um,
it control usage. Like they can't handle control usage. Like even though they know the graphics of everything, the planning of everything, like even them, like even if it's not social media, it's the emails, it's checking up on, what's going on at work on the phone and stuff. So it's like, oof.
I was gonna say it's also like the notification settings that you have on your phone, right? If you've like recently downloaded an app and don't turn off the notifications, then you're always gonna constantly get the notifications to check back into the app for whatever reason.
Yeah.
And they definitely touched on that in the documentary. So just from my own personal and mental health, like I've turned off notifications for certain apps knowing that it was going to bring me back to the app. And I would rather just go into the app on my own terms than being notified that like something has happened for someone else, or someone has commented on your post and you want to see what they said. Like
mm-hmm.
just that,
Yeah.
like that feeling of like, oh, I need to know what people have said about me.
Yeah.
It definitely resonated with me at a younger age, back when like social media was still new, or even when people started just getting iPhones or smartphones in general, when it's easy access for you to check Facebook or Instagram. I
Mm-hmm.
remember like I didn't get my first iPhone until college, first year of college. So before college, like for me to get on Facebook, you would actually have to be on a laptop in order to see talk to people or see Facebook. But now it's like you can basically check any social media anywhere you go because it's right there on your phone.
Yes. Okay, Carol, you actually touched on this really, really great subject of social media pulling us in, kind of demanding more of you, because I never realized that. And the documentary really did a great job of putting it into context of in the human history, we have not evolved to have a product that demands your attention and you're so immersed in it that you don't consciously know you're spending this much time because you're addicted. Like, for example, when you think about advertising in the beginning of time, it's usually through TVs or newspapers, and it's a one-time thing, right? Like, you see it, you're done. They're not tracking anything. But now, for example, when you take Facebook, and I know we talked about this, like, oh, the FBI is listening or something like that, you know? When you think about it, the documentary kind of talks about your Facebook newsfeed is not the same as what you might see, Carol, or what you, Donna, might see, because it's tracking your activities, like what clicks are you doing, or like what type of content are you interested in.
Yeah.
And that scared me. And there was a quote, I think, from the show. It's like, when anything is free nowadays, it's because you're the product and the customers are the advertisers. They're buying your data. They're buying the most relevant business model where they can predict your move. And the more accurate it is, the more money advertisers are going to fork over. So that's one point that I was like, that's just insane. And I know I am in marketing. So I'm like, okay, I track these data, I track all these metrics, because for me, psychologically, what do I want my readers or my audience to keep wanting to see, right?
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, like, even for this podcast, like we track down our metrics. You know, how many times our videos are being viewed, who's viewing it, what do they like to see, you know, what's their attention span of how long they're listening to the podcast. So those are like metrics that we like personally do for this podcast. And this podcast is essentially, you know, a fun hobby that we're trying out. So it all kind of goes down to play too.
Yeah, and it's helpful, right? Because we want the podcast to be of value to the listeners.
Yeah.
So we're like, okay, does this make sense to them? Is this what they're interested in? But when you're Facebook or you're Google and you have this like massive fortune amassed from this business model that you have and this amount of power, because we're lucky enough to be in Silicon Valley, right? Like we're educated to know that, like, okay, there's UX designers that does this. There's you know, the intentions behind it, so we're able to make educated decisions in some way, right? But let's say you're in the Philippines or Vietnam in the rural area, and the only gateway to information is through Facebook. Can you imagine the type of like noise or misinformation that can
I gotta mess with Filipino auntie, or not Facebook aunties. Like, you know how much shit they tell me what they get from Facebook, or like how much drama or how vulnerable they are on Facebook, and they're putting out, you know, everything about their personal life on that. I'm like, damn, sis, calm down. Like,
yeah,
they're getting everything from Facebook, or their family drama, the news, all of that just from that special app. And I'm like, oh shit, it really is taking over not only, like, you know, the younger generation, but the older generation too. And then kind of yell at you like, yo, you're the reason you're doing this. Hello, you're as addicted to Facebook as we are addicted to our own, you know, our cell phones too.
Yeah. So what is you guys' sorry.
I was just gonna say, I think it's scary that like a lot of people who get their news rely heavily more on Facebook than actually doing their own research. Because if they see the same news over and over again by people that are reposting it, they're going to assume that, oh, this must be true because there's so many people who agree with it and reposting it. And that's very dangerous and very narrow-minded in a way. Not narrow-minded, I don't know if that's the right word, but like it's very like tunnel vision, because all you see is what is being posted, rather than going outside and doing the research on your own to see what else is out there.
And like to add to that, like you can cater what you want to see too. So if they want to follow, you know, like a certain fake news, you know, like, I don't know, company, I guess, or post or like pages, they can only follow that, and they can like use that as a source, you know, instead of going out and like reading different things.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah, I totally noticed that too. I was like, okay, because let's take, for example, the political climate that we're in right now, right? So I was really like worked up about BLM, for example, or like about, you know, Trump versus Biden and all that stuff. And I'm like, oh, okay, great. Like everybody, it seems like agrees with me. So I think, Carol, you mentioned tunnel vision. And I think social media really is sort of like that, or like an echo chamber. And you really have to make a conscious decision to follow people who might have different perspectives than you, because and that's really hard to do, right? Like, why would you actively look for somebody who might disagree with you? Like, it just doesn't make you feel good. And that's when also marketing is all about emotions and triggering what that dopamine hit that you mentioned earlier. So it's a lot to ask out of somebody as well, unless you're really actively trying to broaden your perspective. So yeah, that's the danger aspect. And my question for you guys now is that how has it affected you personally, or at least after watching this documentary? Like, was there any actions that you guys took, or did it change your way of thinking, or that you think might be beneficial for our listeners to consider?
I think Carol kind of said like a good advice to do is like to turn off your notifications. There was one part in the documentary where I don't know if you guys remember, their family was eating dinner and she puts the phones inside the box, and the youngest daughter like ends up breaking the box because she couldn't sit down at the dinner table without like her phone for like the last 2 minutes of the beginning of the dinner. She couldn't handle it, and then that kind of like shows like, yo, like Generation Z or whatever generation is really addicted. But we have to also take part of that, because us now, we're part of the working class or the working generations where we work for those big companies. We know what we're posting, so we have to help them make those conscious decisions of not being too, addicted to the phones.
Yeah. I remember in college when I was pledging, we would play a game in our group where we would all put, similar to the box scene in the documentary, where you put your phones in the middle and no one can touch their phones until the dinner is paid or is over, because whoever touches their phones would have to pay for the bill. So I thought that was really interesting, because that was a way for us to get to know each other without looking through our phones or trying to take pictures of our food, or even take pictures of each other, and actually like try to get to know each other. So that I thought that was a really good way for us to just disconnect from the social media world and actually get to know each other on a personal level. And I still do that sometimes with big groups of people. But I just think that's really interesting. In terms of the documentary, I think it really validated what I'm currently doing in my own personal life, because I do realize that I am on my phone a lot on different social media apps. And the funny thing is that I still get notifications from the screen time functionality of the iPhone, where it tells you like, oh, your screen time has increased this amount. And and then it'll tell you like how on average, how many hours you spend on your phone. And it's pretty crazy. Like when you actually look at the numbers and the data of how much time you spend on your phone, and how like, I think that it's just crazy in general. So you don't really think about it when you're spending time on your phone, because time passes by so quickly when you're just like glancing on your phone. But then like when you really put data and numbers together, then you're like, wow, I really do spend a lot of time on my phone. So it kind of validated what I was already doing. Like I told you guys, I stopped some notifications in certain apps that were kind of ping me a lot. And even just on Instagram, I personally have muted people that I follow because they post so much. So that way, like, I'm not really like, because sometimes when you're glancing at the same stuff over and over again, or the same people are posting so many posts in one day, you kind of get, and
it's tiresome.
Energy drains. Yeah, your energy drains when you're watching their story. So I've had to, like, for my own mental health at least, I've had to like mute them temporarily, just so I don't have to like go through that while I'm looking through my IG stories. but that's just how I've been trying to deal with it without like people knowing, because it's not really anybody's business to know what I want to see on my phone, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I agree. And also, in case nobody really knows, because for example, my sister kind of overlooked my phone the other day. She's like, oh, wait, Apple has this function, and the function is actually limiting your time on specific apps. So, besides just the screen time tracking, you can actually, like, let's say Instagram is my really bad habit before, like, I spent like hours on there. So, I would set a time limit of 1 hour a day. And once I max that hour, it'll say, hey, your time is limited, press OK, or like you want to do another 15 minutes. So it makes you consciously know that like this much time has passed
Yeah.
by. That was helpful. And then from the show, there was a founder actually on, like, I think he was like one of Google's product designer thing, and he said he doesn't even use Google anymore. He uses like a different type of search engine where it doesn't track data. It was a European search engine though, the one that he mentioned.
What's the name? Blinking out, but yeah, I remember them talking about it.
Yeah, so I kind of did my research. So now my default browser is actually this thing called DuckDuckGo.
I've never heard of that one.
I know, it's really funny, and it's not the best, like, you see
app appealing,
Yeah.
look design.
right, but I mean, I was like,
So it's a search engine?
Yeah, it's a search engine. So it's like a
Oh.
Mozilla, Firefox, or like Safari. So you can make it your default. So that way, like, it doesn't, like, if you're looking at one thing, like if you're looking for, I don't know, Hydro Flask one day, it doesn't keep showing up on your Instagram.
I still think that's so scary. Like, you can legit say something like, we can talk about watch Nike shoes. Nike shoes are about to pop up on my ad right now. I'm saying it into existence in the ad. Watch, people. It's gonna show up in my ad like tomorrow or something.
Right. Yeah. So that's a couple of, like, small changes that I've made after watching. And also, I guess, like, to encapsulate what I wanted to happen now, and what they've made a great point is that social media is not necessarily a bad thing. This is my career, this is my profession, and I really do think that it has the power to connect people and give access to information that was at scale, and it's really impactful. But I think I agree with their notion of, like, there needs to be some sort of regulation from the government, or pressure on these companies, because they're making so much money. They have so much power because of all the information that they carry, but there's no regulation. Like, if there's a commercial on children on TV, like, they're regulated, right? Or but right now there's virtually none. And I know Facebook is a company that's been in the spotlight in recent years in terms of, like, are they ethical? Are they doing the best that they can for the good of society? And they're not. But I think us individually have the power to stay educated and at least make the small ripple of change in your small communities. Because I know for sure after watching it, I told my parents, I told my sister and my brother.
I think it really helps for our generation that the iPhone wasn't really popular until later in our young adolescent lives, because it wasn't really popular in junior high or high school. I think some people had iPhones in high school, but like very late into the high school years. And then as the iPhone started to be more developed, or more generations came on, that's when more and more people started to have iPhones as like their first phone in general. Like, anyone who gets a phone now is getting an iPhone or an Android. They're not getting like a Nokia Razor or like those flip phones. Like, they're not getting that at all.
The side phones, chick, yeah.
Exactly. Like that was our phones back in junior high and high school. And even going on the internet was so hard, and you had to pay for it. It wasn't unlimited. Like, it was so hard for us to even go on the internet. So I think because technology has advanced so much, younger generations are now just getting those kind of technology early on in their lives. Like I've even noticed that like little kids would be glued to their iPads watching YouTube videos.
Yeah.
Even though it's like kids shows, like they're just so glued to the iPads, and the parents let them because that's the only way to calm them down.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we can't obviously blame the kids. We have to, you know, we're not mothers, but we will soon enough start a family. So we have to kind of like make those conscious decisions. Even us as big sisters, you know, help those who are younger than us kind of get away from that. You know, what you guys said like before, with access comes responsibility. So I think we just got to take our parts to kind of, you know, hone them down a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. So crazy times, right? Like I think sometimes after watching it too, I'm like, oh, I feel so powerless. I'm like,
yeah,
like it's just...
even the situation we're in with COVID, how we're like very limited to you know, socializing in person, that we have to rely on social media to keep in contact with people. So we're kind of put in that weird dilemma now, like how much can we use it and when can we use it at that point?
Right.
And I think as technology keeps advancing and more functionalities come up, that's even more reason for us to be on the app for even longer for whatever reason. So
yeah,
I just think that it's inevitable that technology is going to advance. So it's just more about our own self-control on what we're willing to do to keep ourselves sane in the real world.
Damn, we really in a social dilemma.
Yes, we are.
Okay, so I think that's a good place to kind of slide in our fun fact for this episode then. And make sure you guys watch the documentary.
Yeah, Social Dilemma.
Yep.
So my fun fact is as hypocritical as it is. So my fun fact, I was watching a Korean show with Blackpink on it, and then they mentioned the animal of a capybara, and you guys know what a capybara? You guys never heard of it?
What that
I don't even say that word.
What is that?
Capybara, CAPBARA. A capybara. Oh my god, y'all gotta look it up. So it's the biggest rodent, and it's a mix. I know, I fucking hate rodents. It's a mixture of it's actually a mixture of a lot of animals. It has quills of a hedgehog, feet like a bird, teeth like a rabbit, and a tail of a pig. So put that all in your head if you don't know what a capybara looks like.
I feel like it's like
that's what it is.
Like a petri dish of the worst looking or ugliest animals in the world put into one animal.
So funny.
As animal people, y'all are fucked up. It's cute. It's cute.
All right, so we should. Okay, so if you guys are watching this on YouTube, we'll put in like a picture of the capybara.
We'll put it next to Donna.
Yes, they call it. It's a capybara is the life of the party animal because it relates to so many different animals.
I mean, I fuck with that. Yeah.
So where can you find this animal?
I didn't do enough research, but I think it's a wild animal, obviously. But I think Australia. I don't know.
Wait, I want to look this capybara.
Capybara.
Oh, capybara.
Damn, it sounds like like.
It's a capybara. It's
okay. You can find this in South America. It's the largest living rodent in the world.
Yum.
Dude, it could be from 77 to 150 pounds as an adult.
Damn.
It's a big butt.
But they're herbivores, so at least they're not. What? They're not that ugly. They look like freaking beavers.
See, y'all put it in you guys put it in your head what it look like.
I mean, when you say rodent, though.
Well, it does look like a rodent, but then when you say like teeth like a rabbit, tail like a pig, and then like whatever.
Look it up. It looks like that. It does.
It looks like it looks like a beaver that can that has longer legs.
It has quills like a hedgehog, feet like a bird, tail like a pig.
See the hedgehog part. That's interesting. I'm looking at it right
the whole damn like body build is like a hedgehog. Come on now.
That's not too bad now that you see the picture. So we'll put a picture so you don't imagine like a crazy looking animal.
New animal of the day. Shout out to Blackpink for letting me know what this animal, what kind of animal that was.
Aw.
Why
You
was
learned
it on
something on social media.
Blackpink?
No, it was on. It was in her music video. Their new song,
Oh.
the one with Selena Gomez, the hedgehog, the
Oh, the ice
capybara
cream?
is in the video. Yes, it's in the video.
I watched the video. I never saw that. Okay,
Yeah,
I'm gonna rewatch
look it up. Yeah, you're welcome. We gave more views to Blackpink.
Cute.
Okay, on its way.
Love Blackpink. All right, so we'll see you guys back in 2 weeks, and make sure let us know your thoughts if you watch Social Dilemma or will watch it.
Yeah,
So, stay educated, people.
we out.
Bye.
Yeah, bye.